Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. And I think coast, yes, suffers a disproportionately higher percentage of users, but cities like Nairobi are also suffering. And Mr. Speaker, as this request for statement goes to the committee, I'm hoping that the committee will apply itself on two very critical issues. One, on the role of NACADA. Mr. Speaker, NACADA in its current form and state cannot deal with the drug issue in this country. In fact, we might want to think as a parliament whether we want to make NACADA to be directly under the President's office or the Ministry of Interior so that it gets the teeth that it needs to bite. Because the elements that are needed...
NACADA is under Ministry of Interior.
In agreement, Mr. Speaker, yes. You didn't let me prosecute.
Yes.
It is not fully there because, Mr. Speaker, there are some functions of NACADA that have been taken up and put in county governments. And what is happening is that the revenue that counties are looking for is encouraging them to open as many bars as possible. And these bars, not only is alcohol being consumed there, but these bars are also the places where drugs are being trafficked through. So NACADA now ends up suffering the problem of not having resources to undertake the war against drugs, but the counties on the other side are also licensing too many bars, even close to schools, close to hospitals, residential areas, and so on. The second issue, Mr. Speaker, is that when the issue of drugs was brought to this parliament, you are a member of parliament, Mr. Speaker, and I do remember the former minister, Minister Saitoti, and the issues that were prosecuted in this house. Mr. Speaker, we will need as a nation to move this war of drugs from fighting users to following the chain. From the user, there is a peddler. From the peddler, there is a dealer. From the dealer, there is the baron. From the baron, there are international cartels. And these users would never get the drugs if these drugs never found their way into the territory of Kenya. So the problem is way higher up than this young man or woman that we are criminalizing as a user. The user is at the end of the chain. So as the committee is prosecuting this matter, let us also see what it is that we can do to upscale this fight from the level of the ground where we are criminalizing the user all the way to the peddler, to the dealer, to the baron, and see how then we can also arrest it using the international instruments that are available. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for this opportunity.
Justice Kamei.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity to add my voice to this very, very pertinent subject. An issue that is threatening the generations of this country. Earlier on, Mr. Speaker, we used to think that it was a phenomenon of cities like Mombasa and Nairobi. The truth of the matter that right now is that this substance abuse has gone to rural areas like our constituencies. In my constituency, Mr. Speaker, there is something called Kutber. I don't know where it came from. Kuber. Something called Kuber. I don't know where it came from. That language does not even belong.
It's called?
Kuber.
Kuber.
Kuber. K-U-B-E-R. I don't know where it came from. You see a young man putting it in his mouth. The next thing is a pale shadow of himself. It is spreading in so many schools, institutions, Mr. Speaker, and it is threatening the generations of this country. Mr. Speaker, I want us as Parliament to apply ourselves fully to this issue and not to leave it to the Ministry of Interior alone and not leave it to NACADA alone. Mr. Speaker, I support. Thank you.
Yes, Oundo.
Honorable Speaker, thanks a lot for my colleague, Mheshimiwa Tindi Mwale, for bringing this matter. But I think it's being too elitist to only consider these imported and high-value drugs. Honorable Speaker, where we come from, we have the maintenance of Bhang, sativa, whatever it's called, Bhang. And Honorable Speaker,
It's called cannabis sativa.
Cannabis sativa. I'm most unfortunate because I border Uganda. And what happens, nowadays the growing is being done in Uganda, and Funyula constituency, particularly the border point at Bukwamba and part of Sigalame, is the entry point to Kenya. And Honorable Speaker, I will shock you beyond belief that actually the people who are growing bhang in Uganda and transport and peddling through across Kenya to come to Nairobi are actually the policemen. They are the policemen. And we have raised this issue continuously. I even raised it with the county commander.
Are you saying Kenyan policemen?
Yes, Kenyan policemen.
In Uganda?
Yes, they cross over to Uganda and grow bhang and bring and they make sure they supervise the border point, because Sapora's border point, through Mulwanda, Sigalame, and Bukwamba, and actually transport it and escort it all the way, Honorable Speaker, to here Nairobi. You can see how deep rooted this menace is, how well it is supported and protected by the security forces. And that's why we want to ask the committee, and it's good has been directed to the Committee of Internal Security. They really need to rein on their police force and all security apparatus in this country. Yes, they make a lot of money from it, much more than they make from their salaries and allowances. But you cannot do that at the expense of the young people in this country. Honorable Speaker, if you go to most schools in Western Kenya, when you look at the boys and the girls, even the girls are becoming notorious. They look like zombies. We are even worried. We used to laugh that people from Mount Kenya region and central, their classrooms, kindergarten classrooms were empty. Probably the next few years to come, in Western Kenya, also the classrooms are going to be empty because the boys are not doing the work they are supposed to do. Women are complaining all over, Honorable Speaker. We ask you for your assistance to solve this menace so that we can continue to reproduce, because we need more numbers to take over our position as we grow old. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Katana.
Asante, Bwana Spika. Swala la mihadarati ni swala nyeti sana. Bwana Spika, zamani madawa ya kulevya yalikuwa yanapatikana mijini. Lakini kufikia sasa yameingia mpaka mashinani. Na wanaumia zaidi ni watoto wa shule. Bwana Spika, watoto wetu siku hizi wameanza kujiua kwa sababu wakikula madawa ya kulevya kufikiria kwao kunakuwa ni duni. Tujiulize swala moja, Bwana Spika. Kenya hatuna shamba la cocaine wala hatuna shamba la heroin. Haya madawa yote ya kulevya yanatoka nje. Ni wapi ambapo kuna ulegevu ambapo inaruhusu madawa haya kuingia katika nchini? Kama vile ndugu yangu amesema, kuna baadhi ya vitengo vya usalama ambao wanajua ni kina nani wanaleta mihadarati, wanajua ni kina nani wanauza mihadarati, lakini watu hawa hawawezi kushikwa kwa sababu wanalindwa na wanalipa baadhi ya polisi wetu ili waweze kuwalinda waendelee na biashara yao haramu. Ni wakati mwafaka, Bwana Spika, kama taifa sisi sote bila kulaumu mtu yote tujitolee kama Wakenya kusema kwamba swala la mihadarati ni lazima liharamishwe katika nchi yetu kwa sababu linahatarisha usalama wa kitaifa. Asante Bwana Spika kwa kunipatia nafasi.
Bwana Katana, tayari limeharamishwa.